And good evening. Boy, it is great to be back together for our Wednesday night in-home discipleship groups. And I trust our Bible study groups. We went through a discipleship in our first series, and our Bible study groups. Trust that I trust you enjoyed the break, but you're looking forward to being back together and having these study groups, these discussion times. And I want it to be something that can help you to grow in your Christian life. So tonight we're going to begin a series, and over these coming weeks, it will involve a short video and a discussion time afterwards. And so tonight will be the first lesson of that. And the way it will work is I'll show you about a 5-minute video. And after that video, everyone should have a list that looks like this right here. These are the group discussion topics. They're 5. There's numbered 1 through 5. The last one is just some overall takeaways you may have from the lesson. Some of the numbers, some of the sections have 2 questions. Some only have 1, but it will give you an opportunity. There's some scriptures that you'll look up and read, and then you can that will lead into your discussion. And so great to see you, good to have you back together, and I trust that it will be a blessing to you and that you'll invite others to join us as well. So let's get right into that. I'm going to show you the video. Now let me say one word of instruction. The video is only a little over 5 minutes long, so if you feel that you want to watch it a second time before you go into your discussion, that is perfectly all right. You can watch it twice in 11 minutes. So if you want to do that, feel free to, or if you want to go the video and then into the discussion time, that is perfectly all right. Tonight's discussion is on the topic of exile. And it's going to go all the way back to the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve were put out of the garden. It will cover the Babylonian exile, and it will also cover ultimately our being brought home in eternity. And so it'll give some things about it and kind of give you some concepts that I trust will help you to better understand, will pique your interest, will lead to some great discussion. So we're going to start with that. We'll do the video, and then after that, you'll have your discussion. So I'm going to see if I can't share screen right here, and then we will show the video to you.
There's something about being home, where everything's just right. We're surrounded by people we love and trust. There's a feeling of stability and safety.
And while some people get to experience this kind of home, many do not. Others might even be forced to leave their home and go live in a foreign land. We call this going into exile.
Yeah, in exile, everything is disorienting. You're in the unknown.
And in the story of the Bible, this is where the ancient Israelites found themselves, conquered by Babylon, living in exile, far from their homeland.
And so they had to ask themselves, how did we end up here? And is there any hope of going home?
And the whole story of the Bible is designed to address those very questions.
The whole story? Really?
Yeah, go back to the first pages of the Bible. Where does humanity live?
Okay, they live in this really sweet garden, their home.
And they're there on one condition, that they trust and follow God's one command, and they don't. And so the consequence is banishment from the garden.
Ah, they're sent into exile.
Exactly. And so this story has been designed to set you up for Israel's story. How they were given the gift of the promised land and were able to stay there on one condition, that they be faithful to the terms of their covenant relationship with God.
They didn't, and they were sent into exile.
And if you still don't see the parallel between exile from the garden and exile from Israel, think about this. In Genesis, humanity's exile led up to the story about the building of what city?
Oh yeah, Babylon. The same place the Israelites are sent.
But that's not the end of either story. In the first Babylon, God called Abraham to leave and travel to the promised land. And that story was designed to give hope to the Israelites currently living in the later Babylon.
Now eventually, they do get to leave and travel back to their promised homeland.
And when they did, it wasn't home sweet home. Oppressive empires were still ruling over them, and the people kept acting in the same corrupt ways as their ancestors. And so the biblical prophets said that exile wasn't actually over.
How could they think they were still in exile when they're at home?
Yeah, this is really important. In the Hebrew scriptures, Israel's Babylonian exile became an image of something more universal. It's that feeling of alienation and longing for something more, no matter where you live.
Yeah, I can relate to this. I have a great home, but it's situated in a world scarred with pain and broken relationships, death, and tragedy, done by others, but also done by me.
And so in the Bible, exile is the human condition. We all keep repeating this pattern of human corruption leading to a Babylon that we can't escape. And it doesn't matter where you live, we are all longing for a better home.
Now, Israel's scriptures held out hope that one day God would send a king who would rescue the world from all of the Babylons we've created.
And after many generations pass, we meet this Israelite named Jesus of Nazareth. He wandered about with no home, announcing the great restoration, that reality of home that Israel and all humanity has been looking for.
Yeah, Jesus really cared about people who didn't have homes. He welcomed in the stranger. He said God's love is shown when you invite in the outcast and throw parties for people who don't have a place to belong.
Jesus also claimed that Israel and all humanity had lost its way, that our self-centeredness drives us to create false homes based on status and power, and these inevitably exclude others. We live in an exile of our own making. But Jesus said the true way home is one of weakness, of service, and of forgiveness. And then Jesus went into exile alongside us to show us the true way home.
Which is?
Well, Jesus said he is the way. His life and self-giving love proved more powerful than humanity's failure. He opened up a pathway to our real home. And as Jesus' followers committed themselves to him, they discovered this new way of being human. They believed that the real return from exile had begun. And so they would call themselves sojourners or wanderers.
Oh, right. They would say things like, the world isn't our home, and we're citizens of heaven.
And so Jesus' followers remain exiles as they wait for that day when Jesus returns to transform this world into a true home.
So that's kind of an introduction to the study. Like I said, if you want to go back and watch it again, or if you feel you're ready to move into the discussion, do that, of course. At the end of your time of your study, be sure to have prayer time for any prayer requests that the different ones have. And keep in mind, of course, today I just got word late after the services Sunday that Ruth Delzell had passed away. They had the service today. And so do be in prayer for the family going forward, Joyce and the family. I know there are other requests that we have. We have those recovering from some procedures. We have those who are dealing with some ongoing illnesses. It's good to see some of them in church on Sunday. David Dunn is in the hospital, had a procedure post amputation for that healing process to deal with CAP and that from that. So do be in prayer for him. I know that they would appreciate it. I'm sure there are others. I know that Tina and Don had friends who suffered a tragedy, had the service this week. So take time for prayer request at the end. But I trust the discussion will be good, and that brief video is something that will pique your interest and encourage you toward further study. God bless you. Great to have you in the Bible study tonight, and we will look forward to our discussion time.